Namaste. Well, in this Kaṭhopaniṣad, which is being spoken by death to Naciketā, this conversation led me to research what is death, who is death, what kind of a being is death, and how can we realize death. And I found a great deal of material in the Bṛhadāranyakopaniṣad. And so that's probably going to be our next series. But just for now, what we need to know is, first of all, according to the Vedic conception, or according to the conception of the gods and God, Brahman, that most of us in this world are considered pashu. Pashu means animal. And the derivation comes from, well, pashu means rope. And a rope is required for an animal to be led and tied so that it doesn't escape. So, I don't know how to say this, not to offend somebody or other, but it's very clearly stated that the rites and rituals of the Vedas are like a rope to tie an animal, and then that animal is eaten by death. Now, what to speak of the irreligious human beings, which is, the bulk of the population in Kali Yuga. I mean, they are definitely animals, and they are treated as such at the time of death. They're dragged off to the court of Yama, and they're judged, and then their souls are literally ripped apart, and they have to go to hell for a long time, and then they get reborn again as animals, or at least in a lower human form. I mean, at best, in a lower human form. But even the religious people who follow the Vedas also get reborn. It's stated very clearly in the Upanishads, in the Bṛhadāranyaka, that those who follow the Vedic rites and rituals are simply signing up for another term of rebirth and human existence. Now, that human existence may be on a heavenly planet, true, but even so, that kind of birth in a heavenly planet is also temporary. And when their good karma is used up, they have to return to this earth planet again. And I mean, if you've been following the news, the situation here is dire and is getting worse. So you definitely don't want to come back again in the middle of Kali Yuga, because it's going to be horrible. But because people don't really listen, they think, okay, if I work for God, if I do karma yoga, if I love God and I do bhakti yoga, then God is going to save me and I'm going to get eternal life. But no, it doesn't work that way. You're still pashu, you're still a servant of God. You're still going to be treated like an animal. You're not free. You're not getting liberation. Sorry. Liberation comes only from realization of Brahman. And, more than that, it's not something we can do. Like, oh, I meditated all day today and got liberation. No, it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't work that way. Liberation is something granted by higher authorities. Ultimately, Lord Shiva. I'm looking over here at the altar. The Shiva Lingam. So liberation is something granted when we become more than an animal, when we become a real human being. And what is a real human being? Someone who knows, I am Brahman. It is stated very clearly in the Bṛhadāranyakopaniṣad that one who worships God as I am one, God is another, and I am serving him in a relationship, a religious relationship, and so on. These are only earning another rebirth in the material world. Yeah, it might be a higher birth in a nicer place, but it's still temporary, and it still leads to coming back again to this earth planet, which is, believe me, not something you want to do. When you are in the heavenly planets, there is no time for sadhana because you're totally enjoying. When you're in the hellish planets, there's no facility for sadhana because you're totally suffering. Only on the earth planet, in the human form of life, are you in the middle. There's not too much enjoyment and not too much suffering. So there is scope for sadhana, self-improvement. And later on, we'll see in Kaṭhopaniṣad, he explains very clearly that Brahman is not clearly visible in the heavenly planets. What to speak of the hellish planets, it's not visible at all. But in the earth planet, Brahman is clearly visible through meditation. So the human form of life is the best opportunity we have, that we will ever have, to attain self-realization. And what happens in self-realization? Well, first of all, we become death. We attain oneness with death. Hiranyagarbha, the cosmic egg, the golden egg, literally. Hiranya means gold. Garbha means egg. The Hiranyagarbha is the first born being in the universe. He is the sum total of all the consciousness of the jivas, those who are born, as opposed to the principal demigods like Shiva and Shakti, Brahma and Saraswati, Vishnu and Lakshmi, which are transcendentally created, not born. But all the descendants of Virat, another name for the same being, also Yama, the god of death, also Hiranyagarbha, these are all synonymous. The Virat Rupa, the form of death. So this is the first level of realization after coming out from being a conditioned being, a jiva. One attains the source of all jivas. Then beyond that, because Virat, or Yama, death, is one of the immortals. This means you are now above the heavenly planets in the world of the inferior Brahman. So you can realize this by meditation on Om, by advanced levels of bhakti. There are so many ways to realize it. But in any case, this realization is something given to you. It's not something you can do. You can only prepare yourself for it, qualify for it, and receive it from the higher authorities. Try to understand. Why is it that we cannot do liberation? Because in liberation, the individual personality is destroyed. The individual dies. That means the subtle body, the mind, and the intelligence dissolve back into their sources. And all that's left is the energy, the pranamaya kosha, which is what carries the cause and effect of the prarabdha karma, the karma that belongs to this lifetime. And so even a liberated soul, a jivan mukta, has to experience the prarabdha karma according to the body. There are many reasons for this, but probably the best one is that way they get to stick around in a liberated state and teach others. Because they understand everything. They know everything. They've realized everything there is to realize. They have that knowledge which, once known, there is nothing further to know. And what is that knowledge? Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. And Tatvamasi, you are also Brahman. These are the Mahavakyas, the greatest statements of the Vedas, and they are found in the Upanishads. So study of Upanishads is on another level, beyond the Puranas, beyond the Tantras, beyond the Itihasas and all the other Vedic literatures. Those all deal with duality, and they are for the Pashu. If you want to rise above being a Pashu, being an animal, being eaten at death by the gods, and your personality and individuality are destroyed, and then you have to come back again and do it all over again without any memory of the past. See, if you want to rise above that, then you have to study the Upanishads. You have to study non-duality, Vedanta, Advaita. You have to come to realization of Brahman. I mean, worship of God in any form is wonderful, and it leads to all kinds of blessings. This is true. But it does not end the rounds of samsara. Only realization of Brahman can do that. So that is what we are trying to realize through this study of the Upanishads. You know, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says when he's revealing his universal form to Arjuna, this is called the Virat Rupa. His form as Virat. He says, I am become death, destroyer of the worlds. And this quote was famously uttered by Oppenheimer at the first test of the atomic bomb, when he and everybody else realized this is going to work. The destructive potential inspired him to quote from Bhagavad Gita. Now there's a big PR flap about it in India. But hey, Krishna was also acting as death. And Arjuna saw millions of living beings entering into his blazing mouths. All the soldiers on both sides of the armies at the Battle of Kurukshetra would be killed. They would enter into the blazing mouths of death and be destroyed, be eaten, literally, by death. So this is a level of self-realization attainable through the Upanishads and the practice of neti. This is the most powerful practice. This is the ultimate practice of meditation. Not this, not this. Not this gross body, not these gross senses, not this subtle mind, not this more subtle intelligence, not even the subtlest vital energy, prana, in the body, not the airs, not the mind, not even gross material consciousness, but only Brahman. And Brahman is what's left after you nullify all the other things. Now, the Buddha talked about this same process in his suttas, especially when he taught about emptiness. The pursuit or the path to emptiness through the jhanas, the different forms of meditation taught by the Buddha, is exactly the same process described in different language. It is the Vivartavada, the exploration or the realization of sushupti consciousness, emptiness, shunyata, nothingness, the void. Everybody is scared to death of this void. Because the void, of course, will destroy everything. The void, emptiness, is so vast that the entire material creation just gets lost in it. It's completely empty and it's infinite, it's endless. There's no friction, there's no boundaries, there's nothing. But this is the next stage just before Brahman realization. So one must come into the void and become comfortable in the void. Because after all, who is aware of the void? Think about that. Certainly not any of the bodies, because they're just lost in it. There's nothing to sustain them. So they shrivel up and die. But if you go and experience it, you'll find, even though all this goes away, what we think we are, it all goes away, but we are still there. What is that? Who is that? Who is it that's conscious of the void? If you can answer this question for yourself, you attain the status of Virat. Aum Tat Sat. Aum Shakti Aum. Aum Namah Shivaya.